computer.
Well, you use a Mac too.
It's not a Mac thing. It's an Apple monitor thing, so I guess it is a Mac thing.
Oh my god. I've had way too much to drink tonight.
Should we postpone this till never?
Twizzlers and scotch. Twizzlers and scotch right here, buddy.
Do you use that like a Scotch straw?
That's what I was going to say. You need to bite both ends off and...
Swish it around. What are you doing? Are you rebooting? It doesn't look like you're rebooting.
Why do I need to reboot?
Because your video's not working.
It doesn't fix video.
It does.
Throwing this monitor out the window fixes video.
That's usually step one in fixing a Mac is just throw the monitor out. The monitor is the computer part, right?
You're holding us up here, John. You could have been rebooted by now.
I've got too much shit open.
Do you not know where the save button is? Apple key S. Let's go.
I don't want to save. I'm just going to open my laptop.
Did you see that Skynet has struck yet another victory?
Don't start talking about shit.
Spacey Max.
Stop. We don't have to talk about that one if you don't want to.
I have nothing to say about it.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to talk about it. I want to like it, but I'm having trouble liking it. Come on, John. We should just start recording without him. I would have started recording the show by now, but it doesn't do us any good. Dude. Man, turn off those fans and drinking, and you start sweating.
You're a sweater.
I'm a sweater. Where are we supposed to? Isn't there supposed to be like live chat somewhere? Supposed to. We have a viewer.
What?
Look, the bottom. Oh, is it?
I don't know.
Wouldn't it be 2 if it was us? It was 0 last week when it was we're watching.
Switch accounts. I want to see.
What? Switch accounts?
I'm logged in as a different user on YouTube.
Oh, God.
I'm really not in a position for this.
Oh, man, you are a red-faced individual. All right. Let's get this show started.
Do you know what you're talking about?
Start recording. Are we all ready?
I just rebooted my machine. Chill.
Oh, my God. You rebooted. See, you didn't go to the laptop, you lying bastard.
Don't let him get away with anything.
He can't slide one past me. I catch these little details.
All right, I'm already recording.
Are you recording?
No.
Damn it!
You said let's start recording.
Record, Thomas.
No, I didn't really start recording. Count down.
Oh my God! Start recording. 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's get our mark.
Right.
Mark. 3, 2, 1.
Who's Mark?
Fantastic. All right. I'm diving into it. I'm tired. I'm drunk. I'm tired.
You didn't give me any Twizzlers. I'm kind of upset.
Right here.
First off, I want to know who our viewer here is.
Don't worry about him. It's time for another fantastic PHP Ugly.
Whoa, how long have you been working on that one?
I actually stole that from somewhere, I'm sure. Oh, man.
Oh, you are drinking a
Tonight,
lot tonight.
PHP Ugly is brought to you by Lagavulin. When you gotta do a podcast, do it with Lagavulin.
Is that the one you took out of our office?
No, I have to. That's why I'm drinking this one. I have to drink this one so I can drink the one from our office. This one is almost empty.
We finally emptied out our office that we have been leasing for the past year.
Yes. Yep. It was moving day at Diego Dev.
We had a lot of shit there, didn't we?
It's funny how quick that stuff piles up. And I still have my box. I don't even know what to do with the stuff right now.
I had the box out in my car. I opened it up and grabbed out the few things that I needed for the office right away.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have that big ass box out in the back seat of my car.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. We need another office just to put our office crap in.
Whatever happened with the one? We'll take this off air.
Yeah, that's always a great debate about working remote. You know, we're a little different than just your typical remote workers in the sense that we have our little company we're trying to run, and you know, we're coordinating with clients and with other developers. So we did find it somewhat beneficial to have a place to go to, and so John and I continued to have a conversation of whether or not it's worth us to continue to have a place. I mean, we knew the place that we had, we didn't want to stay there. It was a long drive for me. John recently bought a new house. That made it a long drive for him. And God forbid John make a long drive. He nicked that office right away.
You're just now learning that, huh? No,
So,
it served a purpose. I couldn't work out of my house from my previous place, so the office, I was getting an office one way or another. We just made it a company thing, and it worked out great. Client meetings, various developers showed up there to co-work from time to time, so it was a great office to have. We just kind of don't need it anymore.
Yeah, I think client meetings were definitely made easier by having an office.
Yeah. Well, having a conference room there was amazing. When we got to use it, which was maybe 3 or 4 times for the entire year that we leased it.
Yeah, and then you're on a time crunch to finish up the meeting because it went longer. Somebody's allowed a lot of time, and they needed the office.
Yeah. Having a shared office space is
we have
fun.
a great debate now whether or not we want to continue with an office, and I don't know, we're kind of up in the air about it. So stay tuned.
I don't want to pay for an office. Let's put it that way. Let's find a free office space. Who's going to give us free office space with a conference room?
And air conditioning? Air conditioning, internet, and conference room all I need.
Yeah.
Well, we can see if you could get bought by Perch.
Well, no. And the office has to be within 5 miles of both Eric and I.
Oh, okay. So that fictional Graviton drive is working.
Oh, wait. We're more than 10 miles apart.
Yeah,
that would be difficult.
It's going to be tough to bend time and space to make that meeting.
We'll make it happen. Stay tuned. More to come. We'll see what happens.
So what have you guys been working on this week?
Well, hold on. I got told to stop telling my story because we weren't recording yet. I still have to tell my story.
What story? We've been recording now for like 30 minutes. Where have you been?
You were rebooting.
Wow, you've had a lot to drink.
Skynet has taken down another human.
What are you talking about?
Did you guys hear about Tesla's auto drive, or whatever they call it?
Nope, I have not.
I mean, I know what auto drive is.
Yeah, so their little auto drive system ran a car underneath a 18-wheeler.
Oh no!
That's horrible. I mean, that's a sad thing. But the reality of it is, what's that? 2 cases out of all the Tesla cars? It's happened like what, twice?
Sure.
Yeah. You know what? I'll take those odds.
Here's the thing, though. there's a lot of discussion about whether or not Tesla can be held accountable for this because the software is currently in beta.
Well, I think that's going to be a conversation that's going to be had regardless. I mean, whether or not the software is in beta or not, insurance companies are going to want to recoup their costs, and they want somebody to pay for it. So this is a bridge we're going to have to cross, and I think Tesla's the perfect company to cross it with. Let's figure out what those standards need to be and get them set. But I mean, I've seen so many videos of Tesla cars that prevent accidents, of people cutting people off and people not seeing another person, and the Tesla car just stops. There was a real popular one of an Uber driver up in San Francisco that, I mean, quite frankly, saved the lives of many people. So yeah,
It gets into a psychological territory where you have to look at the whole train lever situation. Do you pull
right.
the lever to
It's
save
where you
one
have to
person
have
and
those.
kill 3?
Exactly. I mean, that's it exactly. It's where you have to have those really tough discussions. It's like, okay, if this technology costs the life of one person but saves 100 people, is this technology worth it? The family of the one person will say hell no. Well, it's tough,
It did make me.
I tell you what, I don't want any of my code running on any of that stuff. I could mentally handle it. It's like, wait a minute, I forgot to put a apostrophe in who died? Shit.
Yeah, there's some Tesla engineer right now just having the worst night of his life.
Oh gosh, could you imagine? It's like, I'm a coder. How am I going to kill people? Wait, my program had a car run off a cliff?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Hey, honey, how'd your day go? Good news and bad news. I'm not the one who died. Yeah, I mean, and you wonder, too, how many times you're running something that says, don't use this in production, it's in beta.
Exactly.
I'm always the first to say, I want the beta version.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll run this in production. That sounds fine by me. I never really thought of that as a risk-taker's position. I'm realizing I'm an adrenaline junkie here. I'm always using bleeding-edge stuff.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard about that. That's terrible for that person or people, and
yeah, and there's still a lot of questions. The truck had taken a left turn in front of the car that was using autopilot. The truck was an 18-wheeler, so it was lifted up where the LiDAR system could not necessarily see that there was a truck there.
Oh.
So it's basically as if a raised barrier had just appeared in front of the car.
Right.
As far as the LiDAR system goes. And it's not clear if anything was being done illegally, if it was an illegal turn or anything like that. But the government is involved. The FCC,
I feel safe now.
Yeah, the FCC is looking at the situation and analyzing everything. And
well, like I said, these are questions we're going to need answered, and we're going to need to figure out what those questions are. So, unfortunate situation by far, but somebody needs to answer it, because my next car is going to be a self-driving car because I'm sleeping the next time I go to Arizona. I mean, I do that now, but it's kind of a free
that's
drive.
what it is.
All right, so
I was going to tell you guys about my next meetup.
Go.
You were. Did
I've
anybody
been
ask
having-
you about that?
I've been having trouble finding presenters, just because people don't like to.
Why don't you ever ask me?
Oh, careful there, careful there, Congdon. You are in dangerous territory there.
I'm actually repackaging one of my old presentations that no one ever got to see because it didn't get attended by anybody because of a number of different issues.
I don't remember this meetup you're talking about where nobody attended. What are you talking about?
It was the first meetup of the summer last year. which is when our numbers really started to dwindle down.
Is that the time you presented with your shirt off? Yeah, kind of. Okay, it's coming back to me.
Yeah.
Coming back to me, yeah.
It was just about computer security.
Wait, that was at his house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. God, the hair and the back.
The hair.
Horrifying.
I am clean like an athletic swimmer. I am totally hairless. It's all beard and then just nothing.
Nothing, huh?
Yeah.
Smooth.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be
Yeah,
doing.
very
I'm gonna be building a broken application and hacking it at the presentation. So we're gonna actually see bad coding and the consequences of it in practice. So that should be.
You don't need to build a bad system. Just take some of mine.
Well, I would, but I can't get PHP 4 to run on my system.
Good point.
Jabs. So
you
yeah, it should be a good one.
I'm missing the next Laravel meetup. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I'm at LaraCon. I'm at the big boy meetup.
I'm not. Is John's not going to be there either? So it's just going to be me.
Well, why do you think John's not going to be there? John will be there.
No.
He'll be there.
John is having a baby number 2.
You know, my wife reminded me today that
Take out the trash.
when she had twins, I was playing adult baseball at the time and did not miss a game.
Well,
including the game
insensitive
2
asshole.
days after she had the kid. So, you know, I mean, there's a difference. You know, there's men of the house, and then there's, John.
So what you're saying is you don't want Jackie to listen to this episode.
I can't lose any listeners, so I wanted to put the little headphones on her belly so your unborn child hears this episode.
Yeah, he comes out of the womb with his eyes permanently rolled up, just oh God, not prepared for this.
Man, we're 13 minutes in this show, and I don't think we've talked about anything productive yet.
Well, no, I was going just to the normal chit chat we do, but you were like, let's start recording now. So now we've got the normal chit chat stuff we do, just stuck in.
Listen, your relationship with me is all business now, Mister. That's the way it's going to be moving forward.
And some of us have an early wake-up call tomorrow, so...
Snap.
What the hell's that? Who's got an early wake-up call?
I do.
Nobody.
What are
you talking about? Oh, you want to play Frisbee?
Frisbee,
Yes.
Frisbees?
Yeah, I was gonna say, he's gonna miss all the meetups, but he'll make every single ultimate date.
Yeah?
We want to hang out with him.
We went to a professional ultimate game here in San Diego. I have never seen so many man buns in my life. There were so many man buns. It's horrifying.
And I'm being made fun of for missing Frisbee when Eric was... Or not missing Frisbee. Eric was at baseball 2 days after his kids were born.
That's right, baby. That's it. That's how life works.
I was literally not married to my wife when the kids were born. I hadn't even met my wife when the kids were born. That's how distant I was in the relationship. I wouldn't see them for another 8 years.
See, that's very nice of you.
I'm not sure that's the same.
Cut that from the podcast.
Hey John, did you notice Mrs. Rideout did our intro last week?
I did.
A very central intro.
I think that's probably the only podcast Thomas listened to.
I didn't listen to the podcast.
I don't think so. Listen to the first 2 minutes of it.
The first 2 minutes of it?
Yeah, 13.2 minutes. What?
Oh, 0.2. I missed the point. It sounded like 13.2.
I just added that in. I don't know. I was going to say 13 minutes. I'm like, that would have been a real long freaking intro. So yeah,
no wonder people don't listen to us.
Yeah, Freud called that a Lagavulin slip.
All right. We should talk about PHP stuff.
I have a...
We did.
I have a title for
Tesla's built on PHP. They write all their code in PHP.
Oh, God, that's the problem. That we don't need to fuel that fire. We can have people saying not only is PHP bad, but it's officially killed someone. I have a title for this podcast.
We're 15 minutes in. You got a title already? Twizzlers?
Let's trademark.
All right. What's the title?
Let's trademark.
Trademark what? The title?
Are you not paying attention to anything?
No,
Have you not followed the Let's
playing
Encrypt?
Who's on first, but there's only one player, so it's not working.
Have you not followed the Let's Encrypt drama?
I totally haven't. Oh yeah, I have actually. Hey, there's a trademark dispute with Let's Encrypt. Now, I happen to know that, but nobody put a freaking link in the card on Trello, but I just know that's what's going on.
Well, I think everyone does because we've been talking about it for a week now.
What's going on?
Got it from the context clues from Thomas's intro to it.
So let's encrypt. Let's be clear. Let's encrypt for all of our listeners who've been coding in a cave in some cube somewhere. Let's Encrypt has brought secure websites to the masses. It allows you to add a cert. We're not supposed to say SSL anymore, right? It's TSL. Is that
TLS.
it? TLS. It allows you to get a free TLS cert for your domain. No catches, no hooks. The only catch is you have to renew it every 3 months, as opposed to a cert that you pay for that might be a year or 2 years, depending on how long you pay for it. And you can't do wildcards at this time either. All of that aside, you can get free certs for a domain. We use them quite extensively. There's absolutely no reason anymore for any website not to have a secure HTTPS connection. With that said, Let's Encrypt has run into some issues lately. Thomas, do you care to explain?
Sure. So a company named Komodo decided that they were going to trademark the term Let's Encrypt. Oddly enough, Komodo happens to be in the business of issuing TLS certificates. So once they did this, seeing as they were going up against a 501c3 that was giving away something that everyone needed and felt was important, then the internet naturally took a bit of offense at it. So officially the trademark claim has been dropped. Komodo is no longer going after the ISRG, which is the group that runs Let's Encrypt, but it might have done some damage to their reputation, because being a dick kind of isn't a good thing for your business model.
Man, and all these certificate companies, I mean, unless you're like the real big wigs who deal with enterprises that want to pay $200-$300 for a certificate, all these little fish out there, as far as in the certificate field, I'm not sure how they're going to stay in business. I mean, what value are you going to bring to the industry that Let's Encrypt isn't currently offering?
The biggest thing is in the actual business validation. So like the EV certificates, where they're supposed to take the time to really validate who you are, what your business is. Again, I still think it's a bunch of crap, but it's what they do. So you get that green bar validation, and that's what you're paying for in that type of certificate. Outside of that green bar, most people, I don't think, go check the certificate to make sure that it's been validated. All they care about is the communication encrypted between my browser and the web server, and Let's Encrypt is providing that.
Yeah.
They're not validating who's giving you the certificate or the site you're connecting to.
And as somebody,
all it's doing is securing the connection. It's not providing any level of trust. It's not providing any level of authority. It's just saying this connection is encrypted. It's secure.
But I'm willing to bet 99.9% of people out there don't know that certificates can give you that kind of validation.
or care.
Yeah, all they look for is that lock. Hey, it's
Mhm.
locked. I'm good to go.
Right. But now a more trusted certificate will help SEO optimization stuff. So if you're running a secure but public site, then Google will rank you up for using a better certificate. So it does become important at a certain point. Um, but
I've
if you're
not heard that. That's interesting.
if you're doing just a basic service and a free certificate is what you need, then now you can have a free certificate on a top level authority. And that's really the issue here is that Let's Encrypt got accepted as a certificate authority by the major browsers, which is what is allowing them to do this. And it has pissed off a lot of people, and it's going to cut into some of those certificate authorities that are reselling a domain above them or things like that. But
Hold it, hold it,
it's
hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. That was a break. Yeah, let's get your mic fixed. You're really getting bad.
is it
As you move around, it sounds different.
Yeah, that was a good break where I can edit from there. Just move it around. Is the connection good?
yeah, I
It's
think
like there.
it's a positional issue. One sec.
You sounded good right where you're just at, but
Yeah, it sounded
everything
okay.
bob and weave as you talk.
How's that?
Yeah,
Okay,
that
that's
that's good. Yeah.
okay. It's a directional thing.
Yeah, you're really on that certificate conversation. You're really getting low.
Shit.
So
Okay.
I mean, we could still hear you. It's just
yeah,
not the same. At
yeah.
least
I can probably fix it. I can probably fix it in post. It'll be fine. But
Okay. So it is and like I said, this is a 501c3. This is a tax exempt nonprofit organization running this certificate authority, and yeah, don't don't try to steal trademarks from companies. That was the excuse. Is Komodo's CEO came out and said, well, they didn't put the trademark logo on their Let's Encrypt logo, which as a business it is our job to try and secure our resources any way we can. And taking that trademark action was something that we had to do because it hadn't been properly trademarked in the logo. It's come on, this is bullshit.
the
yeah,
fact that the
You know?
CEO came out and said all the things they did say is ridiculous. The fact that Let's Encrypt does a 90-day certificate and Komodo did the same thing, and they're like they could have chosen anything else. They could have chosen 89 days or 30 days,
Right.
120 days. It's like it's 3 months. I mean, most people say 3 months is 90 days. I don't think they looked at your business model and said, "Hey, 90 days works well for them. Let's use it."
exactly. Especially
Yeah.
when your business model doesn't make you any money.
Well, see, the thing is you don't know this, guys, but internally, 90 days is referred to as the Komodo dozen.
Oh God.
So it really was something that was specific to their business practices.
Long-running jokes don't work on this podcast. Nobody listens to that many shows consistently.
If you want to get that reference, go back to listen to episode 12. Now let's
Wow.
move on.
No, it's
Really?
15 through 12. I've been making that joke every episode, at least once an episode.
Right, you got to go back to 12 to get the original.
I'm
Just
impressed
what's
that you
going
guys. Okay. I'm impressed that you guys know what. Actually, we're on episode 17, so you didn't actually mention that. How did I have
Yeah.
to work with you guys?
So Komodo's dropped the claim, but they are still on a lot of people's shit list.
Well, I won't be buying a cert from them anytime soon. I won't be buying a cert anytime soon. So.
Nah, for sure. So what other tools have you been using lately? Other than
So
Let's Encrypt.
you guys know that I use PHP Storm. I like PHP Storm. I would even go as far as to say I'm a fan of PHP Storm, but I am not by any means dead set where I have to use PHP Storm. I am kind of that way with Vim.
What's
I've
Vim?
been a Vim user for a very long time. Vim has been my editor of choice. I stumbled into Vim by accident. Probably the way a lot of Vim users stumble into Vim, where I had to edit something on a server remotely, and that was the only editor I had available to me. And
Yeah, he was stuck in Vim for 3 years, and that's how he got so good at it.
So
It took
you
him 3 years
say
to learn how to quit.
I don't understand. It's easier to quit Vim than it is Emacs. So we're getting to the point of this conversation, but I have tried other editors. In recent years, I tell you what, if I was a developer,
You change editors more than I change my underwear.
this is true, and you really should see a doctor about that. You
Yeah,
probably
that
need to
is.
change your underwear a little bit more frequently.
Do you want a rash? Because that's how you get a rash.
But if I was starting development today, I this probably wouldn't even be a conversation because there's so many strong editors out there. And you get so many open source editors out there. You got Atom, Sublime. I mean, just the list goes on and on. Now, me as a Vim user, I can continue to use those editors because just about everything comes with Vim plugins. And we've had the conversation before where I can't even think of using an editor without a Vim plugin. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand. In my head, you're editing with one hand on the mouse all the time. It just doesn't seem productive. But I always find myself coming back to just hardcore my Vim. Now, again, we've had this conversation in the past where I'm a different Vim user than, say, John. John's a very powerful Vim user, but he's a very much out-of-the-box Vim user where he knows the out-of-the-box bindings and how to move around. Everything that the stock Vim comes with, John knows very well, and he knows how to use it very well. I am very dependent on plugins and custom configurations. I change my leader key. I have certain keystrokes that do certain things. So, and that's one of the things I struggle with when I go to things like PHP Storm, I go to things like Atom, and I try to use the Vim bindings, where I like it, it allows me to use the editor, but it's still missing that extra edge that I feel like I get when I use Vim. Now, one of the biggest debates that we have as developers is Vim or Emacs, right? I mean, everybody hears this conversation. It's fun to talk about. Spaces, tabs, Vim, Emacs, blah blah blah, whatever. But I've had some Emacs friends out there that have sworn by Emacs, and there was a time where I had really, really gotten into open source, where I got a mindset of everything I use, I want to be open source. And if that's the case, you're using Emacs and not Vim, because Vim is not as pure open source as Emacs is. So I've looked at Emacs, and you joke about being able to quit Vim. That was my struggle with Emacs. I couldn't figure out how to do anything in Emacs, nothing at all. And I have some friends that use Emacs and told me you need to use Emacs in evil mode. And I'm like, evil mode? What the hell? That sounds horrible. Why would I want to use Emacs in evil mode? Well, evil mode in Emacs is a Vim emulator. And they say everything you do in Vim, you can do in Emacs evil mode. So I tried to do this, and again, dumbass me couldn't figure out how to get the goddamn Emacs into evil mode to even try, and so I gave up. I'm like, okay, well, I already got Vim. Why do I want to do this? Along comes this project called Spacemacs. And the first time I saw it, I'm like, what, an editor for Macs? That I'm not particularly interested in, because I do use a lot of different OSs, although my development machine is Mac specific. I have no problem using a Linux desktop, Linux on the server, any of that other stuff. So I have a tendency to shy away from any application that's OS specific. But it wasn't Spacemacs. It's SPAC Emacs, right? And it's a very customized Emacs in evil mode. And I guess I was reading the blog, and they've kind of matured past focusing on evil mode, and supposedly if you're a hardcore Emacs user, now you appreciate Spacemacs. But I've given Spacemacs a try, and I've given it a very long try. So the thing I liked about Spacemacs is a lot of the plugins that I have come accustomed to in my Vim configuration comes out of the box in the Spacemacs. Like surrounding quotes and a bunch of Git integration, GitHub integration that I use. I previously used with a plugin called Fugitive as part of Spacemacs. And Spacemacs has this whole, I guess they call it like a Helm architecture where in Emacs you have a leader key. Mine I had always put to the comma. So I would hit comma GS, and that would bring up Fugitive that would show my Git status of files I need to commit. Well, in Spacemacs, it's the space bar, hence the Spacemacs piece of Space Emacs or whatever.
Gotcha.
And when you hit the space bar, and it brings up this, I keep seeing it referenced as a Helm. And it's very cool because unlike Vim, where you have to memorize your key combinations, with this Helm approach, you hit the space bar, and everything you can do just pops up. It tells you exactly what you can do. I mean, this is even better than anything you can do in PHP Storm or anything. It's just like you hit this leader key, and it says, okay, you want to do something with the file system? Hit the F. You hit the F, and it says navigate, hit the N. And it's very nice, but I'm not totally sold on it. I'm still playing with it, and I haven't given up on it. But I'm struggling with pieces of it, and the pieces I'm mainly struggling with seem to come back to the Emacs piece of it. But stay tuned. Spacemacs, if anybody's out there listening and happen to use Spacemacs, tweet me at Showcom. Let me know. I'll feel free to. I'll be more than happy to tell you some of the problems I'm having with it. But I'm very close to kind of bouncing over to Spacemacs because it seems to it's bigger than Vim. I mean, Vim starts up quicker for me. And that's the other powerful thing about Vim is the speed. Emacs starts up a little slower. It starts up faster than PHP Storm, but starts up a little slower than Vim. But once it's up and running, it doesn't run. It doesn't matter. And the fact of the matter is that, as for myself, and I'm sure you guys as well, you get your editor launched. It doesn't matter how long it takes to start. You have it running the whole time your system's on. So
exactly.
So that's my little spiel on Spacemacs.
We'll have to come back to that at some point. Let's see, what are we looking at? 30 minutes? Well, that's been the podcast, folks.
Holy smokes, that's been 30 minutes. We gotta speed this up.
Yeah.
Speaking of speeding things up, you guys know.
Continue.
You
gotta keep that rolling.
Oh yeah, you guys know how nice and fast PHP 7 is and how much I love it.
So I've heard.
7.1.
Stop moving around your mic. Can't hear you again.
7.1 is now in its Alpha 2.
Say 7.1 again.
No, it's very low.
I don't know why it's low. I can hear it just fine.
Okay, then ignore me.
Daddy can't hear it. He's in the room. He's talking. He doesn't even have a headset on. Oh, yes, he does.
Who doesn't have a headset on?
Let me have another scotch. Hold on.
I was just watching Eric fall apart here. So PHP 7.1 is now in its second alpha, which should be leading us up to a feature freeze. I was actually wrong when I said last week that they were in a feature freeze. They're still not in a feature freeze until the first release candidate. So right now they've got some new features in Alpha 2, and we're seeing some good stuff. There have been some minor tweaks. There was an RFC to replace missing argument warning with a too few arguments exception. This is another area where 7.0 had been replacing warnings with exceptions and errors with exceptions. So this is one that just got overlooked. But we can expect the beta to be released on July 7th. So we're making some pretty quick progress. Looks like 7.1 should be out relatively soon.
Cool.
That's all I got about Alpha 2. My
Well,
cats
looking
are
forward
hungry.
to that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So you,
I
you
would
know what
be
else?
a 7 at all.
What's
On,
that?
I said I'd be excited too if I could get to 7 on a client project that I'm working on.
You're not allowed
That's
to.
that's not going to get there anytime soon.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen.
Hey,
There's,
it was a big enough accomplishment. You got him off 4.
True. That code base is dead. Just for the record, that even what I made went from 4 to 5. Even though it worked on 5, it's dead. It's not used at all. Gone, kaput.
Doesn't matter. We're still gonna make fun of you.
yeah, no, it's never going to be not funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You've got something for us, Eric, about October CMS.
You don't tell me what I got, Mister. I can read the Trello.
You're destroying the illusion.
Speaking of releases,
Oh, Jesus.
let me
Just
Let me
lean over
tell
and
you.
fart right.
let me tell you about a release, Mister. October CMS. Last week we talked about Pyro CMS, which was a CMS system built on Laravel. Actually, rebuilt on Laravel. Pyro CMS had been established, but the release 3 was redone on Laravel. October CMS has hit release 1.0, which has always been, well, yeah, I mean, it's always been built on Laravel, but my understanding of it is it's like a bastardized version of Laravel. I mean, would you
Yeah,
agree?
it's sort of Laravel deconstructed and then reconstructed into, for some reason, a completely different file system layout.
Yeah. So Thomas and I have deployed October CMS as our San Diego Laravel user groups CMS. We really did it because we felt it was important to have something Laravel host our website, and October CMS was kind of out there at the time. We obviously deployed a early beta version, so we haven't done version 1, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm not too excited about this. My experience with October CMS has been kind of mediocre. I mean, it works, but it seems like it's kind of falling short of its potential, much like John in his childhood.
True. I'm not
But
disagreeing with you.
Yeah, he's just frowning at this point.
it's out there. So we talked about Pyro last week. I wanted to make sure we touched on October CMS, which has always been Laravel based, and they have finally reached release version 1.
All right. Zend Framework has also released a new version.
Is that some new framework?
Yeah, Zend Framework has hit 3.0, so it is technically a new framework now, I think.
Now, Zend was actually one of the first frameworks, right?
Right. Zend is the PHP company that everyone has grown to know and love.
They have a whole product line. They have Zen Studios, Zen Server. I mean, Zen. If
Yeah,
you're
Zend Engine.
if you're in the enterprise and you want to sell PHP to your Fortune 500 company, Zen is probably the product you're going with, just because it has the name behind it, it has a company behind it, and they
Yeah,
are the keepers of PHP.
yeah, and they have all the service level contracts and stuff that companies really want to hear and see. It's the important liability things are taken care of by going with Zend.
Right.
But with 3.0, we're actually getting an interesting announcement: is that the Zend company is killing all support for 1.0. So with the release of 3, we're seeing the absolute death of 1.
1 was a terrible framework.
Terrible framework, but it's interesting to see that it was still being supported, and then now isn't going to be supported at all.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise
But
me.
but by supported, they weren't adding new features to it, so people should be upgrading anyway. They were just keeping bug fixes or security fixes probably up to date.
Right.
Yeah, security fixes and then contracts that they had with people who were still running one were being supported, but I think they will be ending support for those contracts as well. You don't get an SLA from them anymore. So you're going to upgrade or die, basically.
In a typical enterprise fashion, I mean, let's be real. Zen, they're only at version 3, really. Laravel's at version 5. They're coming out with 5.2, and they've only been on the market for 3 years.
5.3, actually.
That's what I meant to say. Don't correct me.
Yeah. Well, Laravel moves at a brisker pace than
Well, Symphony.
They change version numbers faster than I change my underwear.
Okay, you really need to talk to your wife about cleaning
is...
your underwear more frequently. Yeah, no, it's
cut it out.
Yeah, it's.
You're gonna have to cut them off if you keep wearing them that long. So yeah, Symphony's at 3 as well. I mean, they're moving at a much more deliberate pace than I would say Laravel is.
That's that. But again, that's that whole enterprise mentality.
Yeah.
So we have another topic to talk about. It's HTTPS MURZE. What the hell is this?
It's a link.
What are you sending me links for?
So what is this? What is this EU cookie law that we're looking at?
I follow a lot of Laravel blogs and stuff, and this came up and said, this is a plugin that quickly makes your Laravel app comply with the crazy EU cookie law.
Which is annoying, by the way.
Fortunately, this no longer applies to Great Britain. So if you're in Great Britain, don't worry about it. You're screwed in completely different ways. I thought this was interesting, is that there is a law on the books for EU servicing websites that says you have to notify users of your intention to use cookies to track their sessions and any other information. You have to be very, very explicit and say, this is what we're using cookies and this is why. And I saw that and I just thought, God, this is what tech law written by people who don't understand computers looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I see that on sites I use currently, and just didn't know why they did that.
Yeah, the reason is because of this law. Fortunately, this is an easy thing to comply with. You just have to have a little banner that states that you're using cookies and that they have to click it to allow. But, I mean, this screws up SEO in so many ways. This screws up analytics. You're not allowed to issue a cookie until they have opted in on the site, which I can't believe the headache that's causing for some developers. We don't have to deal with this right now. We're not developing anything for the EU market. But can you imagine what your analytics look like the next day after you implement a cookies opt-in policy? It's just gotta be crushing.
I've always been really curious about how they police this.
I think this is policed by taxes. This is all tax law stuff. So if you're running a business in the EU that needs to collect money from people in the EU, you can get targeted by an authority that actually has the ability to do something. It would be enforced in the same way that you don't really think about how handicap parking is enforced until someone gets sued because their handicap parking isn't good enough. So yeah, we've seen similar laws get proposed in the United States, but it really hasn't happened yet. It hasn't been that bad. Fortunately, our judges are getting more and more technical. They are capable of making decisions on cases like these. But it does point to a scary reality, which is that laws are being passed by people who do not understand the implications of the laws that are being passed. And right now, there's a large group of musicians who are trying to get the DMCA laws amended that allows them to sue YouTube, basically.
Hmm.
And if you've dealt in any way with content creation on YouTube, the DMCA is already horrifically broken and favors the artists in an incredibly heavy-handed way, and they just don't believe that it's enough. They want more control over content that's being created by people because their music videos are being shared on YouTube by unofficial YouTube channels. It's pretty scary stuff to see laws that are being written by corporate entities like this handed to people who are willing to just pass them directly on to Congress.
Interesting. That was my little filler, John. Feel free to jump in anytime now.
Do you have no comment? You don't believe in our corporate overlords are trying to purchase our souls?
If he's really talking, we cannot really hear you.
You can tell he's not because he's smiling.
No. This is John faking it. Hey, I gotta get the camera back on me.
That's yes. Yeah, that dead air will really clue in the listeners.
We have one viewer. It's you.
No,
want
that viewer left. I checked.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Let's say I
Why
still
does
see
it
him
have to
down
be
there.
he? Why does it got to be he?
It was a little
I was going to give
non-gendered
him. I was going to
icon.
give him a PHP Elephant if he mentioned something in the comments. If he asked a question, I would give him something.
You could give up your rich collection of elephants?
No, it's John. John has a whole herd of these things.
Gotta have them. They're in a box out in my car. If anyone wants to come steal them? They're in the back seat.
But you guys don't have a problem with the corporate overlords writing tech laws?
Corporate overlords write every law. What are you talking about?
That's
the fact
true.
that a SWAT team could come busting into a private residence's house because he's accused of stealing music is bullshit. And fuck them.
Now, there was a ruling about this. A very important ruling. Let me pull this up real quick. Let's throw some silence in there.
Need some Jeopardy music right here.
Good call, John. You and I, right here, brother. Right here. I'm telling you.
Okay, so this happened on March 24th, but it's got interesting implications. This is a ruling in Florida that said, I'm sorry, this is the wrong article. Shit.
Good job, Tom.
Okay, that's related though. In 2004, there was a judge who had ruled that an IP address does not identify a person. So
Right.
when someone's being tracked down, you have to have more than an IP address to issue a claim or to successfully claim that they had downloaded something illegally. But another new ruling recently came from a judge who stated it out of hand. It basically didn't allow a trial to even begin. Rejected the case from the claimant that the person had stolen something because their only evidence was the IP address that they had tracked. So this is an interesting ruling because it puts a big damper on a lot of the techniques that are being used to mitigate piracy.
But can't they go to the ISP and find out where that was assigned, what user that was assigned to?
But that's simply not enough. All that does is point to a computer, but you cannot tell just by looking at a computer.
Doesn't even point to a
whose behavior.
computer. It doesn't even point to a computer. It points to a router.
Right.
Right. So that person could be running a Tor endpoint. That person could be on a compromised machine. That person could have a compromised machine somewhere else on their internal network. There's any number of ways. And, when you look at botnets that are running 200,000 clients, I mean, that's 200,000 people who don't know what their computer is doing. In cases like that, you can't say that an IP address gives you a person. You can say an IP address gives you an address, a home address, but you don't know what's going on inside that home, and you can't decide that person is guilty of any kind of behavior just because of the IP address.
You're assuming
So,
neighbors haven't leached onto the network. You're assuming friends didn't come over. I mean, there's so
right,
many.
open Wi-Fi access points or anything like
Yeah.
that. My Wi-Fi can be accessed from 4 separate apartments in
Well,
my area.
again, and to this day, it greatly concerns me. My computer's my life. I mean, I don't say that in the sense that I can't live without being on the internet. No, I can't make a living unless I have connectivity to the internet. I mean, it's how I live. The fact that at any point the government could come knocking on my door and accuse me of something, and as part of their accusations, take every computer I have in the house out to do their forensics on, which, again, I have no oversight on. I have no idea what they're doing to my computer. They're supposedly, they're the government specialists, and they're taking care of it. Meantime, I can't make a living because they've basically taken my livelihood away. That, to this day, terrifies me. I don't mean to sound like one of these guys who wants to go live in the woods and is anti-government. I'm completely pro-government. The problem I have with the government is their views on these topics, and they're not moving forward fast enough to. Man, I don't
Oh
even know
God,
how.
he locked up.
Yeah, I don't even know how I want to word it. They're not moving quick enough. They're not moving at the internet speed, and that's a problem. And
Yeah,
it's
they're not following Moore's law.
yeah, exactly. Uh, it's one of my biggest fears. I mean, I think, and I've made some accommodations so if that ever happens, that I could continue to make a living. Uh, because I have other solutions in place, but I'm not going to tell you what those are. They're
Do
secret.
you have one of those floppy disks that you coded in
I have
code you
Raspberry Pis stashed all over Poway right now.
you've got one of those floppy disks that's coated in super glue, so that if you put it in your system, then the whole thing just cooks. It just starts to burn. Yeah, the more I become dependent on my computer for my livelihood, which is at this point 100% now, then the more I start thinking about whole disk encryption and the things that I need to do that normally the government would look at it and say, "Oh, well, then you must be a terrorist or something awful because you're hiding stuff from us and we don't want you." Like, no, I'm hiding stuff from everybody else. I'm hiding stuff from everyone. I don't
Yeah.
want my data to be compromised in any way. I have full database dumps of large systems that need to be secured. Stuff that I have it for 5 minutes while I run it and test it, and then I have to delete everything because I want to make double dog sure everything gets cleaned up. Nothing is out there for hackers to try and take advantage of.
Yeah. And not to the same level of that, but sort of on the same plateau is, we've worked on projects where developers have been completely down because their laptop crashed. Like, they have a single point of failure. It's their laptop. And you'd be on a meeting with them in the morning, like, oh yeah, I can't work for the next couple of days. My laptop I have to take in and get worked on. It's like, really? You've got one laptop, and if that's down, you can't work anymore? Seriously? That's it?
Yeah.
That happened to somebody I know recently who spilled water on his laptop.
Oh,
Literally a glass of water sitting next to him. He knocked it over, and he's out of work for like 3-4 days.
out of work and then out of whatever $1,000 it costs to get a laptop fixed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the income that he lost because he couldn't work.
Yeah, that's why you use Vagrant. If you ever need to quickly roll up a quick production machine, or not production, development environment, you can put a development environment in place with Vagrant surprisingly quick.
Well, I'm to the point now. If I can get a machine that has terminal on it, then I can get to a server and get work done. I'd be absolute worst case scenario. I have a Chromebook. Chromebooks are a couple $100. So even if I didn't have a Chromebook, I could go to Best Buy and buy a Chromebook. It has an SSH terminal client you can bring up inside of it, and I SSH to a server, and because I'm a Vim guy,
I was gonna
I'm
say,
good.
know your Vim, kids.
That's it.
Yeah.
You want to know your Vim, baby, because that allows you to stay productive.
Maybe
But
not, maybe
but I
not as
have
productive as you're used to, but
yeah, and I have probably 2 servers right now set up that have my complete Vim configuration, my tmux configuration, a couple of very important settings that I have that allow me to be productive that I can log into and just get working. So yeah, it's you should never if this is how you make a living, then it's your responsibility to make sure that that's not all dependent on one piece of hardware. Whether it's a keyboard, a monitor, uh, a laptop, you can't let one piece of hardware cost you that much money. It's just dollars and cents at that point.
exactly. Well, this episode's gone exceptionally long,
And
There's plenty
exceptionally
of
serious. You guys suck. You know how
especially
freaking
about
hard it
being the
is to
last
find the
story
beginning?
being so serious.
You guys suck.
I wanted
say
it to be
Lynn,
happy
you
and
thought
fun.
you thought the story about our corporate overlords was too serious?
No, not
Yes.
that one. That one was silly.
My Space Max one was way too long.
Well, at least we opened with the story about a car killing a person.
There you go.
Yeah, there's something.
You know, start high and low. Isn't that what you do?
That's a very good way to recap the show. Good job. Thanks, Thomas.
Well, you've been listening
Thanks,
to
John.
another episode of PHP Ugly. I'm Eric Van Johnson.
I'm
John Conklin.
Lagavulin.
Somebody's got to say something again. I don't
You
care who
can-
it is.
You can split it up.
Yeah, you're getting both audio feeds, man.
Yeah, but I silenced one of them, so somebody say their name.
You don't know how to
Uh,
cut it out?
I'm
Move
Lagavulin.
it around?
That'll work. You're Lagavulin this week. Last week you were. What were you last week?
Harry
Oh,
Potter.
wow.
Little teapot. You were a little teapot.
I'm a little teapot.
You were a little teapot. That's how we ended the show.
Yeah.
You're a little teapot. Today you're Lagavulin.
Today I'm Lagavulin. Today we're all Lagavulin.
Don't you listen to him.
Stop the live stream before doing that.
Yeah, if you're so drunk that you forgot how to get to the top of a bottle,
I don't swing like that, man.
if they made those things child-proof, you'd never get as far as you've gotten.
No, it wouldn't. I love my Lagavulin. I love it.
They use a cork because it gets easier to pull out every time you have to uncork it.
You can use your mouth if you get too.
Yeah.
All right, I'm stopping the broadcast. I think that's
All
good enough.
right. I'm going to stop my recording.